I've been talking with a lot of Asian people, and among the Asian people that I've talked to, the most amount of Asian people, far more than I expected, revealed to me this conflict that they have, and it's essentially identity conflict, this racial identity conflict between Asian identity, white identity, and POC identity. Right, before I define those terms, I really want to kind of get into why this is important. So, my hall counselor, as some of you already know, once called me white, right? Because we were at a cultural orientation event, and I held up these three cultural objects that I think represented my heritage, and I brought in a paper target that I shot with a gun at a shooting range, my Redskins cap, and my Constitution. And I said, this is my heritage. I was born in America. I was raised in America. I'm an American citizen. I love America. And she said, there's some people here who think that Asian people act white. And this is the most damaging thing as an Asian American that you can hear from anyone. The most damaging thing. Why? Because it suggests that you don't have an identity of your own, but that you simply appropriate someone else's identity. That is, you appropriate the white identity. And I know there's a lot of anger out there. There's a lot of anger out there. There's a lot of division out there. People are really angry at white men. I get that. People want to make sure to fight against that. I get that. But to put Asian men in the same category as white men is to erase your identity, is to erase our identity. And by the way, putting any category, any person in any kind of racial category is to erase the value of their individual experience. When you reduce the individual to the collective, this is what you get. You get the erasure of your own self, right? This is what the Asian man, the Asian person, any Asian person, really has to deal with at all points in their life, right? Because people don't respect and people don't understand the fact that there is a unique Asian identity. We have pressure to either conform to white identity or to fight for the POC agenda. White identity. What is white identity? Well, it's this white identity was made by was made first by college campuses, by POC people seeking to distinguish themselves from whiteness or whiteness culture, which they believe has transformed and still looms large over culture today. So really, you can only define white identity as kind of the opposite of what POC identity is. And what POC identity is this desire to push back against the white-dominated, white supremacist forces, right? And obviously that has been elevated ever since the 2016 election. You see these two sides of identity really fighting against each other. So where do Asians find themselves, right? POCs want to recruit Asians, white people want to recruit Asians, but at the same time, none of them really want us because none of them really like us, right? None of them really like us. None of them are really like us, excuse me. Not that none of them really like us. None of them are really like us, right? White people have their own kind of identity. They have their own culture. They have their own experiences. They have their own parenting systems, which I will go into later. Asian people, by and large, don't follow the white person's parenting systems. Our Asian systems of parenting are far more authoritarian. Our culture is far more geared towards education. Our individual identity is far more tied to our family and far more tied to technology. And that's just the case with Asian people. POC people, on the other hand, want to see us as part of their struggle, that is Black and Latino struggle, right? But the thing is, even POC people have discrepant identities. They're really trying to form a loose coalition. For example, the Latino experience is not one of slavery. It's just not one of slavery. So when a Latino person comes up to you and he says, I empathize with the Black experience of slavery, you do not empathize with the Black experience of slavery because you've never been in slavery by Americans. You've never been in slavery. That's just the case. Culturally, you're not. So you cannot transliterate the experience of slavery over onto other groups as a Black person. As a Latino person, you cannot transliterate the experience of crossing the border, of the frontera, to Asian people. As an Asian person, you have your own unique experience, but people are warring to fight, to tear it apart, to take it out, to erase you so they can put them into their collective. And as an Asian person, that struggle was real with me. For a long time, I thought that the best person that who I was would be a white person. So I wanted to be a white person. If you've ever read the book American Born Chinese, it signifies my childhood a lot. And that childhood is one of really contending with a lot of white people around me and desiring to be like the white people around me, and therefore engaging in white kinds of practices. And when I realized that didn't work, the only reason why I found out that didn't work was because I found out that a God up there who loves me for who I am, not for who I have to be, or not who I'm pressured or conformed to be. I believe in God, and I believe that God will help you to find your identity in yourself and not in a collective. But whatever it is that you want to help find your identity, let it not be in some kind of racial collective, okay? Do not be pressured to conform to a collective, either the POC collective, the POC agenda, or the so-called white collective, white agenda. In the end, the best way that you can establish confidence in yourself as an Asian person is to be yourself and be confidently yourself. Thank you.